funds and supplies, but you need a place to track your stuff, cause you're so disorganized. You click open the web page, you heard about a critical role, and now you're ready to kick some butt in a mine shaft full of no's. It's D&D, D&D Beyond, yeah, D&D, D&D Beyond. You got your stats, you got your swords, and you got your invisible wall. It's D&D, D&D Beyond.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of And Beyond. I am Adam Bradford, the product director for D&D Beyond, and I'm joined by my co-host, Todd Kenrick.
I am Todd Kenrick, the
Yes,
co-host.
You absolutely are. That is your name. It's great to have everyone joining us today. We have got a very special guest with Lysa Chen, who is of the Behold Her podcast. She is part of Hell's Bells, a live play game. She is
Awesome game.
Guild Adept, also on the DM's Guild, and she is also an admin for the Adventures League. So there's so much for us to talk about. We're
Yeah.
excited to jump in with Lysa. To remind everybody real quick about the format of the show, just where you understand what we're trying to accomplish here and you're not confused as to why we have flowers laying around all of us at this point in time. So we're kind of approaching this variety week to week with different guests, where part one, do we have the image?
Show the Ouroboros
Yes, here we
of
go.
creativity.
Here we go. Look at this magic right here. So part one, we're going to talk about current D&D projects, news, topics, what have you. Part two, we are going to talk about, or hopefully sometimes, like we're doing today, show off some ways to also see the passions of these guests outside of D&D. And since everything in life ties back to D&D in one way or another, we are going to talk about how those passions impact the D&D experience. And again, this is going to be a lot of fun with all the guests that we have lined up. And we're really excited to talk to Lysa. So we can go back and see everyone. Hey, Lysa, how you doing?
Hello! I'm so excited to play with flowers with you guys.
Yay!
We're incredibly
Dungeons and
excited.
Flowers. It's a
Dungeons
new
and
game.
flowers.
This is going to be a lot of fun. My wife is really excited. I told her not to get her hopes up, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
I definitely chose colors that my wife will like, and I will butcher this. And
Oh,
it'll
you
be an
actually-
embarrassment.
Yeah, the flowers are beautiful. The arrangements will be beautiful.
You had intent and purpose behind the flowers. I just kind of grabbed the first three random ones that I saw. So, you can't see these on the screen right now, but I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. So we're really looking forward to that. But let's talk Dungeons and Dragons first. So let's see. We're going to try to cover all four of the things that you're really, really involved in. So can you tell us a little bit, tell everyone at home about the Behold Her podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Behold Her podcast is a monthly podcast that is all about women in tabletop RPGs. It was inspired because I was seeing some tweets from women who had not ideal experiences in gaming that were different from my experience. And I thought, we're all individuals. All of our experiences are different as we are as people. I would love to hear a podcast that sort of shows the tapestry of what all of those experiences are, because it's not just like women in gaming, one thing. So I tweeted about it. And once I said it on the internet, it had to happen because everyone was like, oh yeah, I'd love to hear a podcast about that. So each episode centers around a different theme. So the first one was about artists who are related to tabletop RPG in some way, who really care about accessibility in the games. And I'll have 3 interviews with women or non-binary individuals, or really anyone of a marginalized gender, talk to them about how they got into the games that they're interested in, why they love them, but also what their experience has been, good or bad. I don't go into interviews with any expectation. And then I love doing the interviews, but listening to audio stories is one of my favorite things. So every episode ends with an audio story from someone. For example, the first episode ended with an audio story by one of my friends, TK Johnson, about growing up in the resurgence of satanic panic and what that was like, taking away something that was so important to them and then finding D&D again later in life and how much that meant to them, and feeling like, gosh, like that a piece of their identity was fulfilled, I guess. And it made me cry, basically.
How important, I mean, obviously it's really important, but like, I'm asking you, like, how important is it to be able to see yourself in artwork and in movies and comic books and in the tabletop games that you play, to see a character, at least one character out of all these pages of art that you can like connect with? Because I mean, I am way overly well, represented as a person. And like why even watching Star Wars, I'm like, I didn't care for Luke Skywalker because he had blonde hair. I mean, like that is the height of my privilege, right?
Mhm.
So like, how important was it?
I feel like it's hard to fully understand how meaningful it is to see yourself represented in a hobby or interest of yours if you're overly represented. I know Dungeons and Dragons is something I wanted to play since I think middle school was when I started getting curious, but I didn't until, gosh, was it 3 years ago at this point, until I saw Critical Role. And I saw so many women playing the game, and I saw Laura Bailey like freaking out over her dice rolls and stuff and being really emotional about her character the way I would. And I thought, well, if they can play the game, then that's something that I can be a part of too. And I went to my friendly local game store, and I don't know if I would have been willing to do that had I not seen someone I identified with. I think it's not even just identifying with a person that looks like you. But again, in the first episode of Behold Her, I spoke to a designer, Rose Whitaker, who had really bad experiences going to gaming stores when she was younger. She really liked painting miniatures and stuff, but no one really wanted like a young girl in their turf. And she was really turned off of that whole scene until her boyfriend got her back into D&D much later in life. And now she designs character sheets and different gaming tools with a completely different, like really clean, modern aesthetic instead of more of like a fantasy aesthetic. And
Mm-hmm.
she's gotten emails from people who say, I never really identified with tabletop RPGs just because the look isn't something that I identify with at all, but her modern character sheets have gotten people to try D&D, try Pathfinder, just because the design is different.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool, making the game accessible, even just from a design perspective.
I think that really resonates because one of the things that we're trying to do on D&D Beyond is make the game more and more accessible. And so when I hear things like this designer and what's her name, was this Rose?
Rose Whitaker.
Whitaker, yeah. So we may be reaching out, Rose Whitaker.
She's
because,
really awesome.
Yeah,
So
I
cool.
think it's just incredible the different ways that people can come to the game, and how now that the community is growing bigger and bigger every single day, and as we're seeing this fandom that we have, this game that we love, just really take off, we're seeing more and more people come, and one of the things, because of folks like yourself that are talking about the diversity and how important that is, and how it really is a game that is about that. It's so much of what goes on in the game ties into that so strongly. As we get more and more diverse of a community, we are going to get those things like these character sheets that you're talking about that are just approaching it in a different way. And it's going to make, other people in the community think, wait a minute, this is not how I've seen this work in the past. This is an interesting new way. I'm going to latch on to that. And so I think that that's really fascinating. And I'm gonna check out the character sheets to see if there's anything that that we can even learn from the clean interface and style that she's using.
Yeah, I'm going to totally plug her website if anyone's curious about her. It's r-n-w, and I think it's .net. But look up r-n-w. She has really cool
If we've got a moderator out there,
lots of tools. Yeah.
Find the website, get that in the chat for folks.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. All right, so behold her podcast.
Yeah.
Incredibly cool format. I don't have a lot of time for podcasts, so I've listened to part of one of the podcasts, so I'm gonna just freely admit that. But I am really intrigued by this audio story part of that. So especially in your first episode with talking about the Satanic Panic. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out. Let's talk a little bit about Hell's Bells, because this is something that I've watched, and this is an incredible live play experience with a lot of very colorful characters. So what's the deal with Hell's Bells?
Yeah, we are all Modron lovers, and most of us, I'm new to Planescape, but most of my friends in the game are obsessed with Planescape and Planescape Torment. So
As
it's
they should be.
Yeah, it's just
Makes
a
sense.
really exciting, fun world. We basically get to hop to a different plane every episode.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. But it's an all tiefling show. And I love that even though we're a group of all tieflings, every character is wildly different. Like we have one tiefling named Gil, who's sort of like a presumptuous, stuck-up, rich 18-year-old boy. I think the player who plays him is in the chat, so sorry for that description. We have another character, Miga, whose character just turned 10, played by Hudil, who's also in Trapped in the Birdcage. Who's such a fun role player, but she is like a disaster child and probably the most lethal of all of us. And we're always like, I think she got a wand the last session, and one of our characters was like, "Oh my god, we gave the child a needle. Why did we do that?"
A needle or a butcher knife.
Yeah. The first episode, she like stabbed someone in the eyeball and then had like a stick with an eyeball on it and was like, "It's my battle treasure." And then we have Lyra, who's like all the tieflings' mom, and she's so sweet and taking care of everybody, and it's just really cool. It's all tieflings, but completely different groups.
Everyone has, I mean, based on those descriptions, everyone has got to check this out. I mean, I would almost just watch you describing what actually happened.
Yeah.
But you could just go and watch the show.
Like a post podcast about the live stream.
Yeah. And if you like Modrons, which I feel like everybody must, our DM Maz, they roleplay our pet Modron S34N, and everything that happens is just so adorable. He's our good little robot son.
Nice.
He's gonna turn on you.
Yeah, I know. Maz is
That's
gonna
what
break our
happens.
heart.
It always happens.
They're just priming us for heartbreak.
I'm waiting for like the Google Assistant or Alexa like Modron, modification or something.
Alexa Modron.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we should have named it Alexa.
Oh my god.
You're welcome. You're welcome. When this one dies, no, I'm just joking. Hopefully it's not gonna die.
When this one gets crushed and rebuilt.
Yeah. That's it. Definitely check out that show. But Lysa has her fingers in a couple of other things that we want to spend some time with today, for sure. But you are a guild adept for the DM's Guild, and this has been a new program that really has been really successful. I think, at least from a community standpoint, of being able to find those authors on the DM's Guild and kind of label them in a way that others can find that really, really good work. Of course, Xanathar's Lost Notes to Everything. I'm getting the title wrong there because it's a huge title, But I own that product from the DMs Guild. That was an incredible collaboration that was going on across a lot of the Guild Adepts. Tell us a little bit more about what the Adepts are doing and how that's been going for you.
Yeah, so the Guild Adepts are creators for the Dungeon Masters Guild that Wizards of the Coast has picked out to spotlight as just people who are distinguished from the quality of their work. And we're lucky that we get previews of upcoming books so that we're able to support it on the days of launch with our own adventures, or in the case of Xanathar's Lost Notes to everything else, even like player options and other rules. Some of the content, mostly the adventures, get approved for Adventurers League as well, which is really cool because then we're creating content for that program in a totally different way. I feel really blessed to be in this group because it's some amazing designers and we all have really different strengths. And I think probably my favorite collaborations we've done are some of the larger encounters packets where we all contribute different encounters, or Xanathar's Lots Notes to everything else. Just because everyone can, you just, when you read through one of the encounters packets, you can see how all of us approach encounters in a different way. And that's just kind of cool, seeing the breadth of design diversity in the group.
Do you have advice for people at home who are not Guild Adepts who kind of want to follow in your footsteps in terms of that, like when it comes to design?
I would say definitely check out the things on the DMs Guild by the Guild Adepts, but also other designers who you see are like frequently popping up on the best selling list.
Right.
Everyone kind of formats things a little differently, approaches design a little differently. So there's always things that you can learn. And if you'd like to be a Guild Adept one day, then really it just starts with sitting down, writing an adventure, getting it out there on the DMs Guild. It's really intimidating taking that first step.
Yeah.
But there's really no better advice than just do it.
Yeah, learn to be okay with failure, because that's the only way you learn. But like, how do you personally approach it?
Personally approach design?
Yeah.
So I tend to sit down and I'll just draw like web outlines over and over again until I feel like I found something in the encounter that's a little quirky, or most of my design centers around interesting characters to interact with. So I tend to start with that and thinking about what would just be a really interesting person to interact with and what makes them memorable.
And then like building up that motivation.
Yeah. For example, I think the last adventure I published with the Guild Adepts was a collaboration I did with Will Doyle called Rats of Waterdeep. And so Will gave me an outline of this murder mystery. And I filled it with a really weird tiefling investigator on the city watch, except he wears a trench coat and a fedora over his horns. And all the box text is him narrating the adventure and what the adventurers are doing in like a film noir style.
Nice.
Or they go to an apothecary and there's a receptionist, except she doesn't want to be bothered with anybody and all she does is chew bubble gum and work on her crosswords. And every time I've run that adventure, everyone hates her but loves her. So like that's kind of where my design.
So the real question is, if the tiefling is wearing a fedora, do the horns like poke out, or are they completely hidden by the fedora?
He's got holes in his fedora.
Okay.
So he's got to be real careful when he puts it on.
I just wanted
to like hide. One of them has to be hollow. He has to like hide like a shiv, like
it's gonna
like
be
a
something.
Switchblade, like a switch longsword.
Switch longsword.
Nice.
Yes.
And so what about the? So there was a little bit of a big thing that happened, a couple of weeks ago with this whole Eberron campaign setting for 5th edition. And I saw that the Guild Adepts, I'm not sure if you worked on it or not, but the Guild Adepts put together this, Sharn City Encounters supplement. How does that process work? So you're working with Wizards of the Coast. You know that this Eberron thing is happening while the community doesn't know this yet. And you guys are prepping that for more or less what Chris Lindsay has told me before is kind of like day one DLC, that people I think are pretty familiar with in video games. How does that part of that process work, especially coordinating between the Guild Adepts and with Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah.
That's a tough question.
It is a tough question.
It's well, part of why it's
You got to say
tough
nice
to
things, I
answer
think.
is that we're really lucky that Wizards of the Coast, and when I say Wizards of the Coast, it's really Chris Lindsay who we chat with. He is the father of the Guild Adepts, but he gives us a lot of freedom. Honestly, we get a preview of the book, or we're told what is coming out, and we're allowed to just brainstorm what products we want to create. And he might give us some direction, like for Eberron, he really, really wants to see adventure content so that people can apply the new rules in the setting. But aside from that, that was really, I think James Introcaso spearheaded that one, and I'm really sorry if I'm wrong about that. But I think that was him saying, I really want to put together something where you write maybe like 1-page encounters. Not a huge commitment from anyone individually, but we pool them all together, and then we have a whole bunch of content for people. And anyone who wants to participate just basically raises their hand, and we just do it. There's not a lot of ego in the Guild Adepts. We all really like collaborating with each other, and I think most of us feel like the products where we do collaborate are the strongest. So yeah, we get to brainstorm, suggest things, and I don't think there's any idea we've thrown out that has been vetoed.
Has there been like a unique challenge when it comes to doing this for Eberron? As for like shifting gears a bit from the Forgotten Realms to something a bit more either noirish or more of a serial?
I'd say for me personally, yes, because I'm pretty new to D&D. I jumped on board in 5e, so I'm not as familiar with Eberron. I've played a home campaign where our characters jumped from Ravenloft to Eberron through a magical mishap.
Oh man, that's dramatically changed.
Yeah, that was a dramatic change. So my experience with Eberron is, what are the words you're saying? What is the green So for me, it's reading the Wayfinder's Guide and everything is learning a completely different world.
Right.
I didn't personally contribute to encounters, but I am working on some other projects that we have in the works.
Nothing you can talk about yet.
Nothing I can talk about, unfortunately.
Okay.
Secrets.
I tried.
Yes, I think information will be coming out soon. Trademark.
Trademark information.
But the other Guild Adepts, many of whom have been in love with D&D much longer than me, are so excited about Eberron. For some of them, it's their favorite setting. So they really just hit the ground running. They're so psyched.
It's amazing.
Can I ask one more question? Do you have a favorite setting that does not exist in 5th edition yet? That you must have, because I know you started with 5th edition, but have you like looked through the catalog of 5th edition settings?
I'm really intrigued by Spelljammer, but that's just like a vague interest because I've not played in that setting at all. But although Barovia exists in 5th edition, my heart completely belongs in Ravenloft. One of my first games that my character in Hellspell's Mercy actually first existed in was Adam's Wrath, taking place in Lamortia. That's sort of Frankenstein's story of Ravenloft. And I'm just enamored by every domain in Ravenloft has this very charismatic, interesting story surrounding their Dark Lord and what they did to become a Dark Lord. And the domains all have flavor completely tied to that, which now that I'm saying this out loud, I feel like links to my interest in designing weird, quirky characters. and design emanating from that. So I'm learning something about myself. But I love Ravenloft so much.
Ravenloft is like a domain of just tragically sad dungeon masters in different realms.
Yeah.
They can never cross that misty border to each other, and they're constantly sending their agents back and forth.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So
I love
Lysa, you
Ravenloft.
are also an Adventures League admin. So let's maybe start there. I feel like there are a lot of people out in the community, even people that play Adventures League, that don't understand what the admins do. So can you talk a little bit about what the admins do, what your role is, and how that works with the overall AL?
There are 6 of us. I am one of the community managers, along with Alan Patrick. And so we do a lot of helping to spread updates and information and moderating the Facebook groups and managing the Twitter account, and anything related to communication. There are logistics DMs, so Bill Benham and Greg Marks, and oh my gosh, the stuff that they handle. They handle the CCC program, so that's convention or community created content, but they're also talking to anyone who wants to throw an AL event and get support from us, and they're managing like who gets premiere documents and all of that. They do so much. And then Travis and Claire handle content. So they're helping to create the storyline for every season, and coordinate with the authors, and make sure things are consistent. And when it comes to updates in the programs, I feel like Travis especially really owns any changes in the rules. Now, aside from those separate roles that we have, we're all really discussing everything together constantly on a Slack channel that's like always pinging. And our roles do have some overlap in that way.
Yeah.
But really, the admins help to shepherd the program. Wizards of the Coast, especially Chris Lindsay, obviously hand us a lot of directives as well. And at the end of the day, it is their say, but the admins get a lot of say in guiding, and from my perspective, sharing wants and needs of the community.
Now, you mentioned a season earlier. There was a little bit of exciting news that came out, I believe, yesterday, maybe the day before that, about the fact that there is not going to be one season. So there's not going to just be a season 8 right now, but we're also going to have a season 1 for a separate, and you can maybe explain this, separate Eberron campaign. What's going on with that?
So more full details will come out soon, but what we've announced so far is that starting in the fall, we will have a separate campaign that lives under the AL umbrella that takes place in Eberron. The document that you can get on the Dungeon Masters Guild is sort of like a playtest document. So we're using Adventurers League to playtest that content. Now, because it's play-tested content and because it's a completely different setting, it is separate from our Forgotten Realms setting. So people who are excited about that, you would have to create a separate Eberron character. But that does mean you get to use a lot of those like really fun new player options. I know a lot of people are really excited about Warforged.
Like Dragon Mark, Warforged.
Yeah.
Speaking of modern adjacent creatures.
I'm partial to shifters, So yeah, I think everybody has favorites when it comes to those Eberron races, and I think that's really exciting news. And I said this a couple of weeks ago and really stand by it. I am really excited that Wizards of the Coast is willing to explore this new way to get some of this content out there, a way, almost, people have likened it to early access in video games. I think there are definitely some parallels there, and I think that some of Mike Merle's clarifications about how it's working, that, hey, yes, this is official content. You're going to have, if you purchase this book, we're going to be under the hood of this content. And it sounds like the Adventures League is a place for some of that fine tuning of that content to happen, which is great, but that they're going to continue to update that book, and that people are going to once you buy the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, you have bought it, and you're just going to get the benefit of this continuing design and development on it. I think it's a fascinating way to try things out. I think it's a way that the community was able to get Eberron probably much faster than they otherwise would have. So I'm really eager to see what that means for potentially other settings. No insider info there, but just what Wizards will do with this information now that we've have that out there.
I personally love the idea of live playtesting. I don't know. I'm excited for that kind of stuff. So.
All right. So for the Adventurers League, in addition to this big news, because we're going to have to start making some flowers.
It's flower time. It's D&D and daisies.
Yeah, D&D and daisies.
Someone said in
Dungeons and Daisies.
Chat.
I love it. So, but real quick, because there was some other news that came out about the Adventurers League recently, and there are quite a few changes to the way that treasure is working and advancement works. So can you share a little bit with the viewers about what's going on with the Adventurers League? And there has been a lot of impassioned discussion about on all kinds of sides about these changes, and where do you fall in, and what are your thoughts about the changes?
Yes. So I believe it was last Thursday, Wizards of the Coast announced that Season 8 of the Adventurers League will be moving to a new reward system. It is modified, but based off of the one that is published in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. And that set of rules really sprouted from Wizards receiving feedback over the years about the Adventurers League, and also a lot of things they observed about the Adventurers League. And I think one of the major reasons for this shift was they wanted to create a reward system that worked for different types of play. So one piece of feedback that Adventurers League gets a lot, especially from people who don't play the Adventurers League right now, is that it's really rewarding if you're the type of person who likes to slash and stomp things, which a lot of us do in D&D. You get experience based off the monsters that you kill. But if you want to role play a scenario or bypass a scenario in some sort of creative method, you're not always rewarded. So a reason for the shift and making it more objective and time-based was to be able to reward a variety of different types of play. There are a number of other changes. How gold is rewarded is changed. And if you're interested in finding out exactly what these changes are, we do have a draft of the rules. The article is linked on dndadventurersleague.org. I believe it's one of the, if not the latest article, one of the latest articles. There's a big link to the article on Wizards. Now, it would be dishonest to say that everyone is so thrilled that there are changes coming and 100% on board. I'd say there's a very, very vocal group of people who love D&D, love the Adventurers League, and are super concerned we're changing an experience that is really, really important to them and that they like. So mostly on our Facebook pages, that's where a lot of the feedback is coming, but we're also reading Twitter and anywhere else conversations are happening. We encourage people to post feedback, and we are listening to the feedback. And I guess there's 2 points I really want to make about that. One, Travis has asked a bunch of times that if you are posting feedback, rather than saying, I hate this rule, say, I hate this rule and this is why.
Because
that really helps him figure out.
Because
I can relate to this quite a bit.
The most important part to help us help you and get you the Adventurers League experience you want. The second thing is, I do really want people to know that we are listening to feedback. The main, we're listening for major pain points that are coming from a variety of different players. So I'd say the main thing we're hearing right now is that people are very concerned that gold is being diminished in the new system. And specifically, they are concerned about what that means for spellcasters. wizards and clerics who have costly spell components, especially wizards who also have to copy spells, who make scrolls and all of that. And also, a lot of people are telling us it's really important to me to have a reason to take the risk of opening a chest that might be a mimic. I want to be able to discover and find things in my game. So those specific things, we, the administrators, are nonstop chatting about, trying to figure out how, within the constraints we're given, we can address those specific things. Because those especially seem to be affecting a lot of people. There's a longer list than that. But I could talk to you guys about it all day.
Let's just stop and start making flowers. I think that's going to just make everybody happier.
I have questions why we make flowers real quick. But I'm going to ask you a question why we get the flowers out.
Yeah, let's
what's your favorite type of character to play?
My favorite type of character to play, I like to play support characters.
Okay.
And I really, really like playing my wild magic sorceress. Because it's really exciting getting to roll and find out random things that happen. My perfect character would be a wild magic.
A good DM that will like stick to those roles. Yeah, too. Yeah,
I'm constantly bugging my DMs, being like, "Can I roll now?"
yeah. I love chaos. So
yeah,
that's awesome. What kind of personality does she have?
She has so her magic is really chaotic. So she tries to constrain that by trying to maintain control in all the other aspects of her life. So she's always cleaning things and organizing things.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And it contrasts a lot with the style of her magic.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah.
All right.
Very fastidious. Yeah. Okay, so
Lysa,
let's talk about flowers. How do we flower?
Okay. So to flower, there's a lot of different methods. Probably the ones folks are most familiar with is getting hand-tied bouquets, but we are going to be designing in a vase. I believe all of us have our 5-inch vase. Excellent. And we're going to be doing something called the tape grid. And so really, when you're working with a vase, you shove enough flowers into the vase, the stems are going to start creating a network that will keep the flowers where you put them. Wow. But to give you a good start, designers have different tricks. You could use foam, you can use chicken wire. We're going to use tape. The ideal type of tape for you to use, which I believe you guys got, is a waterproof floral tape. Mm-hmm. You can get that on Amazon. Mine didn't arrive, so I'm using Scotch tape. Don't do what Lysa does.
Don't do what Lysa does. Hashtag don't do what Lysa does.
Yes, I don't know what's going to happen when I put water in this. So what we're going to do is you're creating a grid. I believe you guys have like skinny 1/4 inch. Yeah. So what you're going to do is put a piece of tape down the center and then on either side. So you're going to do 3 pieces of tape, then 3 pieces of tape perpendicular. Since my Scotch tape is so thick, I'm just going to do 2 by 2.
I think I've already buggered this. But we take it out later, right?
The tape?
Yeah.
No, the tape stays, and it really disappears once you have all the flowers in it.
What, you didn't know that, Todd?
I will destroy your next character.
You can try.
Mine might not disappear because, again, this is using Scotch tape that's not clear.
So we need basically 3 holes after this is done.
Yeah, it's like you'll have a nice little grid. So mine's 2 by 2, but ideally you would do 3 by 3. I think when you have skinny tape, it's just my tape's so thick, I'll have no space for flowers if I do that.
Okay.
What is your tip for not getting the tape stuck on the rest of the tape?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, let me see if I can. Let me take a piece of tape off, and I'll show you how I would do it.
Can you show me the top real quick again? Oh.
Oh, I just took a piece off, but.
No. Oh, I got it. Yeah, I knew what it was. Thank you.
So, let me take this off the dispenser. Normally, you'd have a roll like you guys do, and this is what I would do. I would stick the end on the vase, and it would stick better if it was the proper type of tape. Roll it across, and then you can use like scissors or even a knife to cut it. Let me see if my snips will work.
My actual problem right this moment in time is I don't even know if I can find where the tape was. Oh, there it is. I found it.
Oh, good.
I found it. Yes. The real question is it a vase or a vase? That's the really important question.
I
Is
don't
it
even
Lysa
remember
or
what
is
I
it
just
Lysa?
said. Because now that you've asked, like I've said it a few times, I think, but
Yes,
now that
you
you've
have.
asked me, I'm like too self-conscious.
No, you
Vase?
say vase, but
Vase, yeah.
I
I'm
say
concerned that I don't
vase.
say
Probably because
Modron's right. So now I'm like insecure.
I can't get the tape
Wait,
off.
there's a different way to say Modron?
I have already
I
failed.
said Modron for some reason because
Oh.
I'm weird. Modron sounds way better. I'm like Modron.
Let's ask Matt Mercer what it does.
Yeah,
on D&D Beyond.
Sure,
Let's
we
see.
just go to D&D Beyond and click the.
Let's see what he says.
It better say Modron. I like Modron better.
All right.
Why would it be Modron?
I mean, it wouldn't be. Is kind of the
No,
point here.
like
Tom.
why isn't O ever an A? Modron. Yeah, it's Modron.
I'm glad we're
right.
at least determining.
I need to get through
today.
this. All right, so we got our grid.
Okay, so the
Some
trick
of you have your grid, but yeah.
Then is to seal your grid. So you're going to take your tape and you're going to go around the edge, and that is going to stop them from slipping off once this vase is full of water. Vase, whatever, one of those. Both.
I'm glad that I've given you a
mine
complex
looks
now.
terrible because
Fill your Modron is full of water.
Myself, yeah.
I'm actually using the vase.
Is it a vase
our
or
wedding?
vase?
From our to do this, so hopefully I don't destroy our wedding memories.
All right, so I got to go around and seal it. This is really intricate work right here.
That's really going to help you stop the flowers from just slumping everywhere. It's going to keep the flowers where you want them.
Just gotta keep the grid kind of tight, right?
That makes total sense.
As Adam finishes his tape
I'm almost
grid,
done.
I'll say,
Come on, Adam.
if you're working on flowers, for me, the color theory is really, really important.
Okay.
It's easiest to create a harmonious arrangement if you do monocolor. So I have enough flowers. I could do one totally white. But if you're going to introduce another color, a trick to making the arrangement feel harmonious is to get, for each color, at least 2 varieties of flowers. So I've got a bunch of white flowers. I also wanted to incorporate some light purple. So I have some pretty daisies, mums, and some spray carnations. And that's going to really help tie everything together.
I always think of spell effects like fireballs.
All right. So we are ready. I don't know if you guys have water there. If not, you can add water later, but I'm going to
I forgot water.
I'm going to add some water to my vase, and we're all going to cross our fingers that this not waterproof tape.
So this
doesn't
answers
just
the
fly
question for our
off.
producer as to whether water would be involved here. I'm going to
So
stop.
how does making flowers apply to D&D?
I'd say for me personally, my journey in flowers and working part-time as a florist is a big part of why I started organizing for the Adventurers League, which led to everything that I do now.
Okay.
But I do feel like the part of your brain that balances all the different things you have to balance, color, texture, shape, is very similar to all the different things you have to balance while you are running a D&D campaign. And I was a retail florist for a long time, so I was also designing flowers in front of customers. So you're really on the spot, and that helped build my confidence and made me feel like, well, I can actually DM if I can survive this.
That's
Very
an excellent
nice.
point.
So to start us off, there's a lot of different ways we could approach this depending on what shape we want. But we're just going to make a nice, simple, round arrangement. And did everyone get leaves?
Yes, of various kinds.
Great, cool. Various kinds is fine. We're going to take some different leaves, and we're going to put them at the 3 points of a triangle. Does that make sense? So I'm going to put one leaf here, and then I'm going to put one here, and then I'm going to put one here.
Can you tilt it? And well, you got water in it now. Oh, I see.
A little though. So I'm going to put one here, and then here, and then here. So the 3 points of a
If we
triangle.
have a 3 by 3 grid, though, We're just going to approximate that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
All right, I'm gonna
So
do
to
some.
figure out where to cut things, you hold them against the vase
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
height you want, and then you cut.
Oh, that
I
seems
see.
to make sense.
All right. Hopefully scissors really do the
And a
trick.
lot of times when you buy greens, you'll get like a huge branch like this.
Yeah.
But this has lots of little arms. So you can cut off little arms. If there are any greens on the bottom, we'll just pretend there's some greens here. You can just use your hands and strip those off. Because you don't want any greens in the water. That is what makes your water go brown.
Apparently, that is a full tree, so I'm gonna put that back.
So my greens are fake. So
What?
I don't think I got the memo that they needed to be real. And so therefore,
Oh no! You bought fake flowers.
no, I bought fake greens. The flowers are real.
Oh,
Oh no, so you might have a little bit of a challenge if they have wire in them.
A little bit of wire. I got the wire part. I can just, muscle through that. But I'm just saying that I don't think my fake ones are going to turn the water brown.
And so you can see I've got like my 3 points there.
yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Now we're gonna start.
I got this happening.
Awesome.
So only one per point?
Yeah, 1 per point. You're just identifying your points right now.
Okay.
And then we're going to start with some flowers.
So, if we were like, we were designing an adventure, like what would the points be? What would the 3 points of the triangle be? It's like one combat characters.
He's really trying.
No, I feel like they would be, especially when you're doing like a homebrewed campaign and you want it to be a little bit open-ended.
Yeah.
They would be the points that you want people to, you want them to hit. No matter where they go, there's this person I want them to talk to. I want them to stumble on these goblins and have to fight them. They're your anchor points.
That is fantastic.
Makes sense.
You like stuck the landing.
And sometimes, like your players come to the table with fake greens. And you have to adapt, improvise.
I feel like I've done that. I feel like I've come to the table.
Oh, I think I've seen you do that.
So
that was rough.
So while you guys are working on your greens, at each of these points, we are going to create a trio of flowers.
Okay.
So I'm going to use my white rose, which is like my main flower.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to pair it with, I think I'm going to pair it with this pretty white flower, which is a Lysianthus. And I'm going to pair it with this spray carnation. So I have a little bit of white and purple.
Okay.
And at each of these points, you're going to create a little trio. So I'll do it on this side so you can see. I'm cutting my rose to the height that I want it to be, and I'm placing it by that green there.
Oh, I see.
Okay, but you're just adjacent, but not in the same square.
Yeah, it could be in the same square. The grid isn't so that you have like spot 1, spot 2, spot 3. The grid is there so that when you place your flower, wherever you want to place it, the tape is helping to hold it there.
Okay.
And then my trio has these carnations. I'm going to cut a carnation.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do some trimming here. How are your fake greens?
I mean, it's working wonderfully, Todd. I guess.
Adam is talking about we played an improv, and my character couldn't apparently even stay on a train.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
That would be my fake greens character.
I remember
He's
that
a rogue,
like it was
mind you.
last Monday.
He can't stay on top of a roof.
So you can see at this triangle
making a
point where my
mess.
green was, I have a rose, a spray carnation, and a Lysianthus. And I'm going to do that same thing at the 2 other points of the triangle that I identified. And that is going to make sure that the texture, the variety of the flowers, and the colors are well balanced.
Okay. For those wondering at home, my roses have actual thorns.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Often, like the roses I got,
There will be blood.
taken off. I guess I could talk a little bit about where one gets your flowers, so you can get them.
where you don't
Talk a
go
little
to
bit
that
about
place
emergency
ever
aid.
again. Yes.
You can get flowers at a grocery store. Those will usually be your cheapest options. But and you can get bunches then, so you could get like 3 or 4 bunches and make a whole bunch of different bouquets. If it's really important to you that your flowers last days and days and days, I would consider investing in flowers from a local flower boutique. Because they will do things called like conditioning the flowers, which is, you can see my grocery store flowers have these leaves on them. A good floral boutique will take all of that off because these leaves are greedy. They will steal water from the flower and your flowers will die faster.
Oh, that's good to know.
So,
that
those
is
are
why
like those
a floral boutique is
players.
worth the extra bucks.
Those are like those players that just always want all the treasure.
Yeah. They're
Well
just
done.
leaves.
We can just keep
Some
going.
of them are fake leaves.
Bring it home.
So this was my first trio. I'm actually going to adjust this guy because I want him in a little different place.
It's a little tall.
So rose, lisianthus, carnation, and then I did another one. Rose, lisianthus, carnation. I'm going to do that all around at my 3 points.
Okay, so but we still have 2 points left in a center, right?
Yeah, so we're going to build on the outside and then go in.
Okay.
So Todd, you're trying to do like your planning here and make sure you don't run out of leaves, is what I heard right there.
I got a lot of stuff
Or
here.
run out of flowers at least, yeah. Okay. See, mine's
So,
looking pretty
so
good.
should every outer square be filled with something?
No, not necessarily. I'm going to tilt mine so you can kind of see what I've got going on.
Okay. Don't get water on the camera. Okay. Yeah, that's what I got going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of. Sure, why not?
So right now they're like kind of bunched together.
So what if I don't have enough of the same? Like, can I do 2 and 2 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, do 2 and 2.
Okay, I'm freestyling a little bit. Sometimes you have to
Yeah.
improv.
Okay. Once you have your trios at all 3 points, then I don't know how many different flower varieties you guys have. You can start filling in between with different flowers. Since I've got so many different flowers, I am going to do trios of 3 different varieties. So I have this filler flower that's got like little points.
Well, that's mean. Don't call that one filler.
I think it's really pretty and a really cool shape. I just don't know the name of it. The package said filler flower. And then, because I want to distribute that purple color evenly, I'm going to start using my secondary purple that I got.
This is actually really relaxing.
It really is. It
Floral
smells good too.
arranging is when you don't have people saying they need standing there needing their flowers right away before they get on a train or something.
I forgot to give my wife. I forgot it was our anniversary. Make it look amazing.
Yeah.
And
When
do it right
you're
now.
not dealing with that. It's the most zen. And like,
Does it count as kind of a flower because it's so strange?
that is actually a variety of carnation.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is a flower.
I'm saying yes. Oh man, I feel like this is getting away from me a little bit. Let's see.
Better bring your A game, Todd. We're gonna
I may
have
have my
chat
C game.
judge this at the end.
Maybe C game day.
And every once in a while, as you're putting flowers in, remember to go back to your greens and just distribute them so you feel like they're distributed evenly. Adam, I don't know how easy the false leaves are to manipulate, but they look like 11
Oh, this
leaves.
is
So
fine.
Sometimes you can use those to like cup a flower. It looks really pretty.
I just popped off one of the fake leaves. Not on purpose. think that needs to be cut more. Is what my problem is.
There you go. Okay.
And I'm also using these leaves to mine have like a drape to them. So I'm using them to sort of drape over and hide my gross Scotch tape.
I'm sure my wife is watching and she's just like, I don't want these. She would never say that.
To your face.
Oh, sweet God, what is he doing?
Wonderful things. All right.
So your favorite character is a wild magic sorcerer.
Yes.
What is the weirdest, funniest thing that has ever happened because of the chaos from the dice roll?
I got involved in the Adventurers League, and that's when I started playing the Wild Magic Sorceress in season 4, which was Ravenloft. And there was this mechanic that if you died, special stuff happens. And my friend who I was playing with at the time really, really wanted to die so he could get that special thing to happen. But the DMs kept like not trying to kill him, even though he wanted it. So there was one, I think we were coming up against a vampire spawn, but it looked like it was finally going to happen for him. And then
going to die.
And then I wild magic surged and a unicorn appeared. And the unicorn healed him.
Yes.
And that was my first wild magic surge. I laughed so hard.
I apologize, everyone at home. My camera keeps on going out of focus because it doesn't know what to look at, the flowers or me.
So you can see, like, oh, that's so pretty. You can see, so I've got my trios, but I've started to build flowers in between, and I'm using the same flowers. So it's getting pretty balanced. There's a few places, like over here, maybe I want a little bit of purple. Might add another mum there.
Yeah, it's very important to like turn it around and see the damage you've done on maybe a different side.
I mean, you just have to display it one direction.
I kind of feel like
That is a thing. That is a thing. It is called a front-facing arrangement.
There we go.
Or what we call the floral mullet.
The floral mullet.
That'll work. That'll definitely work. All right. Let's see. So now we've got to do things in the center, right?
Yeah. So you see, I'm adding and adding and adding. And so it's starting to fill in the center.
Okay.
But eventually you want to make sure it looks really stunning from the top as well. So I'm probably going to go back and choose another one of these roses.
All right. It looks like we have about 2 minutes left here.
Oh, okay.
How did
We're
the time? How did the time
fun.
I'm
go?
going to hold the rose up to the height that I want. And then I'm going to cut it. And then you should have a network of stems starting to form where my rose stays in place.
How do you deal with branches kind of interfering with each other, like that tension?
That's actually, you want the stems to start to really fill.
Oh, okay.
One way to help if you're having trouble getting stems into the arrangement is to cut at an angle rather than cutting straight across.
Oh,
a little point.
yeah.
Squeezes its way into the arrangement.
All right. I think I'm done for now.
I think I kind of like this a lot. I'm sold.
Yay!
Yeah. This is outstanding. All right. I'm going to have to start wrapping up a little bit, Lysa. I mean,
that's okay.
we may
I'll
just
take a picture and post this on Twitter when I'm done.
Yeah,
You guys should too.
we probably we will do that. But we could just stay here for another 30 minutes or an hour if you've got time. And Todd and I'm just joking. Like, you're probably busy. But
Did I do kind of good?
Yeah, you've got your roses
Pretty.
That one
distributed
didn't
really well.
turn
I
out
see
so
the pink distributed well. You guys did awesome.
Oh, outstanding. She's just saying that, but we'll take
I know.
it. We will take it. All
I'm
right.
like a medieval flail of roses.
Lysa, thank you so much for this wonderful
Thank you,
experiment. This
Lysa.
was a
This was
lot of
so much
fun.
fun.
And
really fun.
keep in mind, just like making flower arrangements, folks out there, you got to improvise. You got to be willing to stray from the recipes sometimes. All kinds of things that can impact your D&D experience. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next week, we've got Keith Baker that's going to come on the show. We're going to talk about Eberron. I think we might even be trying to bake cookies or something. All kinds of fun stuff.
Baking with Baker.
Yes, that's going to happen. Thanks once again, Lysa, for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lysa.
Thanks, everyone, for
everyone for
watching at
watching.
home. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.